what does SCOTUS's decision mean for the elections and our country?
Maritza, people say sometimes that I exaggerate. Puerto Ricans are hyperbolic or dramatic, and we can be. But I don't think it's dramatic to say, as I thought about the decision this morning and I thought about the other thing that happened, you're going to ask me a question about, I think we have to just sit here and wonder, like, have we already lost our democracy on some level?
Yeah.
The Supreme Court, before we get into the decision, we got a couple actors there, Alito and Thomas, that are flagrantly being bought off in open sight with these elaborate trips and gifts that they receive from billionaires that then have business interests with cases in front of them. The lack of logic around not just taking the case but the timing. It's almost like they're just taking just enough time so that Trump isn't tried in any of these federal cases before the elections. And then I also we're going to talk about the Senate in a second, but thinking about what is happening now with one by one, the last sort of Republicans that had some sort of semblance of normalcy around what national politics should be about and how we're supposed to deal with each other and play within the rules, are slowly going away because Trump's taken over the Republican Party. So I'm really really sad with that decision. Hopefully, we get a logical decision. I don't know why we have to debate much whether we have kings and dictators or not in our Constitution, but I want people to pay attention because there is sort of a cold civil war happening right in front of our eyes.
I think you raise a very good point, and while politics can be dangerous depending on where you stand, right? And the conversation overall can be difficult. I think from a women's perspective, it saddens me to hear, for instance, my sister, and the fear in her voice when she sees and hears things on TV and on radio, being so young, yet being a mother of a very young daughter, what that translates into for
You
them,
mean the IV?
for her as a mother, for her daughter as a young Latina growing up
That's right.
in the U.S. So it's a scary time. It's definitely a scary time for everyone, but it saddens me how women have to shift and
Yeah. And let's keep it real. It is not coincidental that as Latinas and other diverse communities are moving up in our country,
mhm.
y'all are getting more educated, especially in our community. The women are getting degrees, they're starting businesses, they're moving, they got it going on. Y'all got it going on.
For sure.
Coincidentally, it's not a coincidence. All of a sudden now we want to infringe on women's rights,
Hmm.
especially young women, and to the point where we would in a society where we need all the labor we can get, which is a whole other part of the immigration conversation. We're going to make it harder for women to be in the workforce by forcing them to have children that, for various reasons, it's not their time. So
Yeah, and I understand that politics is not for everyone. They're not, I get that, but even surface level understanding of what's happening, even as a Latina for other Latinas, so speaking to other Latinas, it's so important to just even on the surface have an understanding of what's happening.
no
I
doubt.
can't tell you how many times just this past weekend I was having a conversation with two young Latinas, and one of them said, I'm moving to Texas. And the other said, I had nothing to do with that. I was just sitting in the room.
Yeah.
And the other said, are you crazy? Do
Yeah.
you realize what rights you would have or
That's right.
lack thereof if you were to move
That's
to
right.
Texas? So just having a baseline understanding of what's happening. I get it. Politics are, they're boring or they can be controversial or
Well, they're
whatever
all the
whatever stance you
same,
take, right?
and
Yeah, whatever stance you
Biden's
take, but
bumping
just
around the White House because they have
yeah,
Viejo, and
just have a baseline understanding just for your own benefit and that of your children, your future children, whatever have you.
so Republican Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, I think, has an understanding of what's happening because he's already announced that he's no longer going to be the leader in the Senate. And McConnell, look, has been one of the worst actors in this whole story. He's the one that really paved the way for Trump to have 3 Supreme Court nominees. He denied Obama a Supreme Court nomination, and he's blocked all kind of stuff, gun control legislation, and all kind of things that we could have progressed as a country. But to McConnell's credit, He's just sort of a regular conservative Republican guy. He believes in the rule of law. He believes we shouldn't have Trump shouldn't try to overthrow the country. Believes in our election system, and so he sees that win or lose in November, if Trump wins in November, he's out. He's part of the old guard, and really, now that we have a guy in Speaker Johnson that is no experience and very very poor at his job, but is really kind of just Trump's rubber stamp in the House, to blocking a lot of things. Um, McConnell's really kind of was like our last normal Republican leader in national politics on a lot of levels. So it's the stakes cannot be higher in this election November. And I would really ask people, look, it's well documented here. Nobody here is giving Biden gold stars for a lot of things around, particularly issues impacting people of color, immigration, the Gaza situation, Puerto Rico, which we need to spend some more time on. There's a lot of
Hmm.
things that he deserves criticism for, but at the end of the day, there really is not much of a comparison on the alternative. And for my money baller guys that think that well, having Trump around is good for me because it'll lower my taxes, dictators are never good for business.